Hey drivers, how's it going? Okay, this is basically we're kind of dicking around in Unreal Development Kit. What I'm doing is I'm showing you the kind of process I go through as I'm trying to visualize a level. What I've done is I've already basically came up with a design that kind of works for me. You can have a look at obviously the images that I've supplied with that. What I'm going to do is just go from here, show you how I kind of block out my level. A couple of important things. Obviously, we've got the content browser here, and we've got this here, which is my little kind of making stuff happen box. Okay, and if I just hit Control A, it fills my making stuff happen box with stuff. That's all there is to it, really. See, making stuff happen box. Pull it around, adjust it, do what you want to it. If you're pulling around these little points down here, remember to keep them kind of together. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to File, New, and you've got 5 options in UDK this build, which is 2011 December build. So if I go to night lighting, for example, don't bother saving that. I'll just move this over to another screen for the moment. You can see we've got this, rather lovely night map here, which you can literally play from here in viewport. There you go. See? Lovely box, moon, shining down. Pretty cool. Now, what I want to do is, notice if I move this box over, by the way, over here, it doesn't move this one over here. That's different, okay? So, as you can see, that's useful for doing things like this, where we're kind of blocking out shapes and stuff, yeah? Just Control A and put that back. So, let's say we want to create ourselves a lovely level. Well, I've just removed the floor there, right mouse button, and I'm using the WASD keys just to navigate around, because I've got this lovely big space here, and I'm going to take this frame, and I'm just going to put it over here, just so it's out of the way for the minute, because I don't really need it. Okay, and what I'm going to do is start by using prefab lumps. So I'm going to reduce this a little bit because I don't have the comfort of being able to use 2 monitors to record on, as you won't see what's happening on monitor 2, and then you'll get infuriated, and that wouldn't make me happy at all. So what I'm going to do is go down to here, my packages, UDK game, click content, and then down here, just click static meshes, and it'll select all our static meshes for us, like this mesh sphere, for example, okay, which I can just drag straight onto the level. So what I'm going to do is just go down, and the piece I'm looking for is just a nice piece of pavement that'll get us started. Now remember, the good thing about this is we can use these things over and over again and pretty much do what we please with them. So just click, drag, there's our starting point, which is this rather nice bit of floor here, and middle mouse button, right mouse button, and then WASD keys just to move around. Remember, you can also work in the top viewport if you so choose. Okay, and I'm just going to hold down Alt, drag that out, hit space, rotate this little fellow around. See, you can rotate it quite easily using those. I'm just going to bring this over here so I can see a little bit easier how much I'm rotating it by. There we go. Now I'm going to bring it in again, so I'm just hitting spacebar just to basically get it to the point where these two are kind of overlapping each other, and then just bring this out. And if your snap to isn't quite accurate enough, then you can re-increment it just by clicking on here. See this? So if I just click my little arrow here, we can increase them up to all manner of things. So for example, 128. As you see, it makes it a lot more chunky. I don't have mine down between 4 and 8 usually, just my own personal preference. Okay, so with these parts done like that, what I'm going to do then is get this nice static mesh here, which is our SHU floor SM sidewalk A512, which is in your deco architecture, I believe. If you can't see it, it's because it's over here. Okay, and just going to zoom on in. It's nice because there's only 3 basic functions in our navigation, and so it's quite easy to get to grips with. Don't want it to overlap if we can help it. Again, remember though, we can use the top viewport, so we're not too constrained here. Okay, and what I'm going to do then is just pull out, and then just holding down Alt, just drag that out like that. Okay, so we get this nice double here. Now rather than having to do that all over again, if I just Control Alt and marquee select these two, I can then hold Alt and just bring them across to here. Okay, and that gets those just in the right position for what I need. I tend to navigate this in the same way that I navigate 3ds Max, which is, you know, if you'd prefer working through the top viewport, then by all means do that. This is just my own personal preference for doing it. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is just bring this across, not like that, by holding the Alt key. I was holding the Shift key there. I keep forgetting that 3ds Max and UDK don't often share the same basic, what do you call it, hotkeys. I know I can remap them, however it's easier keeping the old UDK ones for people who prefer using UDK. Okay, now what I want to do is just have a look down, because I've got these parts here, so what I want to do now is find myself a nice wall. There's one here I could use. If I just drag that out to there, you see? It's a good size too. So if I just bring that down a little bit, not too much. And what I want to do is just match up the lips, just here. See, like so, and then bring them over to here. Like that. And the idea is then I can just use the Alt and just Shift and drag. It's at the correct scale, so I don't need to scale it in particularly. If I did, I could then use the Type In tool just to make sure I get it the way I want it. There we go. Thing is, most of the pre-made meshes that we use as what do you call it, are quite versatile in this respect. Now you see that this is quite identical to that one. We can find ways of hiding that, to be honest. I mean, if I scale it all by using this 0.5, see, or 1, I can also scale it in on individual axes like this. Put a decimal point in, there we go. Now that one's just obviously constrained along those two axes, but if I do a -1, you'll see I've now reversed it. So that's a start, and then we can put in a few bits just to make it look a little bit more individual. Now what I'm going to do is holding Control, select all these, Shift, and then just rotate them by, oops, hang on, it's not Shift, is it? I do apologise. Alt, and rotate them by 180 degrees. There we go. And again, just going to suck them over into this bit. And now, sometimes I tend to use the Shift and Move option because it can be quite useful. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and then move it, and that piece stays still, and so I can just slide it into the right area like that. See? Okay, now down here, again just looking at what I'm doing. Now we've had one wall and, you know, it was okay, but we could probably do with changing it a little bit. We've got this nice wall here. Let's see how high this one is by comparison. If you look, it's got this kind of curved top in that we're going to have to hide as well. Rotate it 90 degrees. As you can see, it's not quite tall enough. Although that isn't really a problem. We can put some stuff down here to make it taller anyway. One of the things we might have to look at though is that a gap? No, that's a relief, because we really didn't want a gap. Okay, now we'll do the same again over here, just Shift, hang on, not Shift, Alt. See how often I get this wrong. And you'll notice obviously it's patterning it like that as well. Now we've got this space here, yeah? So if I select both of these, and what I'm going to do is just get the space here to more or less match up, which it is, and then I can just change this to 1.05, and now just bring it across, and it should nearly fill it, not quite. 1.05. 0.08 does fill it. You'll notice these two, just bring them apart a little bit. There we go. There's going to be some overlap, but we want these lines here to stay constant. And down here, we could scale it as well so it kind of fits down here, or we could add some additional detail down here if you so want. So for example, if I just drag that to there, and then bring this down, hold shift just to bring this across, so I can see where it's kind of melding in. You can see it's not quite big enough probably to fill this gap. Let's go and have a look at it. Now what we can do is increase the overall scale of it to about 1.2. Still not going to be big enough, so I'll make it to 1.4, which probably will make it big enough. Just want to make sure that we don't get any run under there. 1.6. Okay, that's not bad. Now I'm going to come back. Try not to sneeze. I moved the microphone because I'm feeling quite generous today. There's been many occasions when I've completely forgotten to do that. And obviously you'll see the two parts kind of meld together there, like that, and we can fill them in, move this gap to the middle more. There we are. And possibly just remove some of this overlap here. There we go. Nice. Alright, so that gives us this shape. And we can have a quick look around our model, see how it's looking. I think I accidentally stuck two skies on, which means I accidentally duplicated it. So you've seen how we've kind of got this basiny shape coming together. We do need a ground for it. And I think what we can do there is just have a quick look and see what we've got. We've got various different floors. We don't want anything too complicated. And with these ones, we've got to be careful if we use irregular floors like that as well, that we don't use something overly complicated. It might be a good idea just to use a BSP for this part, because using a BSP obviously gives us more options. So if I just go to my top viewport here, sorry, wrong button. There we go. And just use my right mouse button just to pan around a bit. Grab this. And this will enable me to just move into this area over here. And just kind of line this up a bit. See how I'm lining it up with those edges there. Now what I want to do obviously is move these verts around. So what I'll do is I'll just click the geometry mode button, or shift and 2, and we get this, our geometry tools here. Now again, remember, just Control and Alt to marquee select. That selects me these two, well 4 actually, because there'll be 2 underneath it. We're going to stretch this out as high or as wide as we need, like that. Then I'm going to do it again, just grab here, and Control and Alt, just marquee select, like that. Let's bring these down. And a bit more, like so. Now then, just going to zoom in here and have a look at the edge, make sure that it's meeting the edges, which it is. Okay, now I'm going to go back into perspective mode. I can just keep clicking until I get into perspective mode. And you'll see there's our entire piece down there. If I Control A, you can see it has created a BSP, but that's not really that much use to us down there. So what we need is one all the way up here. So if I go to my front viewport, and I can also right click here, just click front or press Alt and H. There it is there. We don't need a massively thick floor, so oops, wrong button again. Do that again. There we go. You'll find I press the wrong button an awful lot of the time. It's part of my British charm, really, I suppose. yes, it's not really part of my British charm. Okay, just break out of that. See if I select this now. I can just drag it straight up, drop it in the bottom of here, and it'll become our floor. Oops, wrong button. Why do I always do that? So we can set it as high or as low as we want, which is kind of helpful. There we are. Just right click here and go perspective. See, there it is over there, and there's where our floor will eventually be if I do a Control A. And now we have a floor, okay, which is a nice solid piece, obviously. And what we can do with this is we can also adjust it and put different parts here if we want. So if I click the stairs mesh now, I can rotate around the stairs mesh. Let's make it 180. Now at the moment this is the right size steps for a human player who needs to go up and down. So if you want to change this, then obviously you're not going to get quite as easy a range of movement for him or her, as the case may be. And I'll just set these into a good place. Now what I'm going to do is just go to my side viewport. You can see exactly where it is now. You can also see that this isn't quite marrying up with this here, so what I can do is just grab these here and the one behind it. Or if you look, actually that one was overlapped here, so what I'll do is I'll fix them this way instead. Just to make sure we don't get holes, because I don't want any. There we are. Now grab this, and what I'm going to do is just have that come up to here, which is where I want it to start, which is right against here. Don't want that overlapping, so I'm just going to bring it down a tiny bit. Do a Control A. And then down here, where it's going to be again, I'll be doing another Control A. However, in order to make sure I get that right, if I just zoom through a wireframe mode, I can now make sure that it matches up properly. See, there to there. Control A. And now I can go back into unlit or lit or whatever I choose. So, again, just back to perspective. And as you can see, we have this rather wonderful little staircase fellow going on here. Now we have a box underneath it, which obviously we probably don't want. So if I just click my box brush, we can then look and marvel at where the box has gone. I think it's probably inside the staircase, to be honest. Let's go back to wireframe and go to my left viewport again, or side viewport rather. There it is. So what I'm going to do now is grab this. Thank you, game. And we can see where it needs to go. Okay, its top point needs to be here. And then if I just get my geometry going here, Control and A, that goes in there, and then just select this again because I accidentally deselected it. Make sure these are all kind of lining up, which they are. I'll go into my top viewport, make sure they're lining up on that as well, because they're probably not. See, told you. Just because something looks right doesn't mean it's right. Zoom on in down here. Let's make sure we're not overlapping, which we're not. That's cool. Okay, now we can go back to perspective. There it is. It always looks really way more complicated when it's in perspective mode. And Control A just to build our geometry. And now if I go back into lit mode, you'll see that we have all these fellas down here. See? So now we have this and these and that. So this has created this part of our level here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at this for the moment and see you in the next bit when we'll do a little bit more noodling and doodling.